how high up this body clearance is. It's, I mean, the truck's still touching the ground even by putting that block under there. But, so one of the things I'm going to be doing to this, changing up some stuff on here to make it more race worthy, is I'm going to change the chassis. Now what I'm going to be using is part number 5830, and this is the lower center gravity chassis. So let's go over what's in the package here. Knife empty. Put all the parts over here for a second. So this being the main chassis, this is where your rear transmission is going to go, and then of course it's going to be the front, and this will be your center. And so what the kit comes with, it comes with the battery stand, battery holder, which you're going to be using screws off of that one for this one. Actually, I think it actually comes with some screws here. Looks like, oh, a couple of the screws that are in here actually belong to the steering. And then of course putting in the side mounts for the body, the Nerf bars. And this is the front part. This is where your steering servo is going to mount, and this will actually fit like, let me see, oh yeah, sorry. It goes like this. It's going to mount like that, and then of course the front end is going to mount in between here. And so yeah, so you're going to have some parts mounting underneath and some mounting on top. And so what this is going to do is this is going to change the whole structure of the truck and give it a lower center of gravity. So for now, stand by. So what we have to do is we're going to have to dig deep into this thing and take it apart. So I'm going to pull the body pin for the battery off, remove it, and so what we're going to be doing now is taking it apart. So with that, there is a couple screws, if you can see this, in here that's got to come loose. But the first thing we're going to need to do is take off the ESC and unplug the motor. So let's get doing that right now. So all your motor wires are color coded, so you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, how am I going to hook it back up? So there. So that's completely disconnected. And you can just leave this wire just like this, because you're going to be taking this whole piece off and putting it on the other chassis. So what we need to do is we need to take off this. But before we can take this off, we need to open up the receiver box, which is here, and get everything unplugged. So we're going to remove this through here. Okay, so now we're going to take and remove the box. And that's the box. Okay. Now the other thing we're going to have to remove is the ESC. Put this over here. Now, what's really crazy is that I basically have never driven this truck, and yet I'm dismantling it. Okay, and we need the screws out of here. Just make sure you're in good when you're doing that, because you don't want to destroy. Alright, so we've got this part off, and the two screws that are in here, and here. It's always good to be able to see in there too. The handy pair of needle nose pliers comes in handy as well, because that way you can reach in and grab your screws. Now we're going to flip this over, and so what we're going to be unbolting is these two screws here, and there is all these have got to come off too. And that's pretty much disconnected at this point. Set this over here for a second, out of the way, so we can get back to that in a minute. So we're going to do the easier part first, and that's going to be basically installing the battery tray holder. I'm just going to use the one that came off the new truck. So now what we've got to do is, you see how this rear bumper setup is here. So what we're going to be doing, screws here off. Because this tray's got to come off. Oh, can't use that one. So I've removed the 6 screws here, and this piece will slide out. And there's like a little slot right here, and what that's for is for your truck to slide in here. For your truck to slide in here like this, and so now that that's back in place, you will be putting the 6 screws back in. Okay, so I got the 6 screws back in place, but we have 2 more still got to be put in place. Okay, so we're going to put the other 2 screws back here, right here, right above the battery tray. Okay, so now what's going to be different here is where the ESC used to be back here, it's now going to go here. So this is going to go basically right here. Get this thing started. Before I start that, one important thing's got to happen is I got to run this wire here back to the chassis here. Remember before, that's where the servo wire was, but now everything's been different configured. So now that I've done that, now I can go ahead and screw this in. And one thing I forgot to take off the other body is this little wire motor that holds the wires down. And I'm going to try to get it in place here, and I'm going to try to tuck the wires underneath. Okay. Now, this wire right here, a lot of people don't know what this is for. It's actually for a fan, which will be happening soon. Okay, so now we got that in place. Let's go ahead and put the receiver box in place. So now we can run the wire back into the receiver box. And we'll pull it up here. Now we need to locate channel 2. Now channel 2 is your ESC, channel 1 is your receiver for your, your servo, not your receiver. Okay, so that part's done. Now we're not going to put the cover back on because we got to get the servo done now. And that's going to be the front of the truck. So let's put this over here for a second. Put these 2 screws in my magnetic tray. And we're going to remove the servo. So, being I got the stock bumper on here, it does require this top piece for the bumper, but we got to take the 2.5 millimeter screw out first before we do the other ones, because, well, we don't have to, but I'm just doing it that way. So screws anywhere. Okay, now we're going to flip it over. And you've seen this before. So what we're going to do is, we don't need to touch these 4 screws. We need to undo this. The 2 way up here. And the only reason we're doing that is because you got to be able to take this off. Alright. And this should come off. And the screws here. And here it is. Chassis off. So now we have this little part here, which is for our steering we got to work on. And so what we got to do now is take off the screws and washers off of here. These will go on here like this. And of course this will screw on to that. Okay, so there is you don't want to lose these parts here. Okay, so now we can go ahead and bolt this on. Get that part out of the way. That's going to be these beveled. Okay, so I got the 3 screws on. So now the part of the front end is here. So now what we have left to do is to mount the servo. Now, to show you real quick here, your servo is going to mount with the servo arm is over here. So since this doesn't have a servo saver, because if you have a servo saver, then you have to use the upper screws. So the servo saver fits in that part right there. We can just go all the way to the bottom and use this. And of course, we're going to have to adjust this. I'll show you that in about two minutes here. We're going to have to adjust that to a 47 millimeter height, or length, I mean, not height, length. And so we're just going to get the servo mounted up here first, and then we'll do that adjustment. Now, on the diagram there is a picture, but that picture is not actual size, so you are going to have to break out a ruler or whatever, something that's going to measure it for you. It's also not only, let's see something here, or it's 1.85 inches. So it's either, you can either go with the millimeter or the inches, but that's what it is. Hey guys, Anthony here from XXX RC Garage. In the middle of doing my editing and just found out that I have a missing video, and I apologize for this. But anyway, it bolted back up just the way it came off. So if you are in the process of doing this, it's not a hard thing to do. But anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, have fun with RCs.